You
Right.
said you talked about burnout, overachieving corporate women, but let's talk about burnout and overachieving, because I want to draw a little line for the corporate woman part of it. But the
Okay.
burnout and overachieving, tell us, how does that happen and how do we avoid that? Let's talk about that for a second.
Ooh, it's something that I think happens to so many of us, and
Hmm.
we don't really know it when it's happening. We just know it when we wake up and feel that way one day. When
Hmm.
you're just spinning all the plates and trying to take care of all of the details, and you find that you've lost yourself in the process. I know I was there. I was burned out, but I didn't really think about being burned out. I was just too busy doing. So I was making sure things happened at work. I always made sure that as an employee, my job was to make my boss's job easier. But as a boss, it was also to make my employees' lives easier. So I was always in a caretaking capacity. And then I did that for my family. I did that where I volunteered. Every aspect of my life was just taking care of things. So I think not everybody is a hyperachiever. That can be a way we self
Yeah.
sabotage ourselves.
Yeah.
But for me personally, and a lot of the women that I work with, it's our value piece, it's our identity piece. And so that's how that's we're performance based. You always want to overperform, outperform, you always want to get better. And it's it's almost like it becomes a habit and a way of being, so it's a little hard to dial back from that, and it's hard to
Okay.
let go of responsibility and have somebody else take care of things. I can't tell you how many women in particular, I can't see the men's side of it, I know how a little more how women operate, but having to rearrange the dishwasher because their husband loaded it wrong. Just
Right.
we
Yeah.
take on more than is necessary, honestly, and then because we are the keepers of how everything works, we burn ourselves out having to maintain that.
That's going to be my next question to you, because from the outside looking in, it's tough. But with all the work that I've personally been doing and been paying attention to, the little sister, a daughter, and a mother, I see some of the struggles that may take place. But isn't it just more? Let me ask it this way.
Okay.
What are the challenges that you think corporate women face that corporate men don't face? And we're including, we won't discuss pay inequality
Right,
or
right.
the old boys network, but what are some of the challenges you think a woman, especially a woman who has a family?
I think that I have most of my career was in very male-dominated spaces. I have learned so much from how men navigate the world that I think women honestly could learn more from. We all have our unique contributions, but men are very good at knowing their worth. And they can say no to projects at work. They can set firm boundaries and they're confident in what they're able to contribute.
Mm,
It's not tied up necessarily in their output, it's in their intrinsic value. Women are not as inclined to understand and be able to demonstrate their intrinsic value. So they think if they do more of the doing, if they're the go to person, if people can't get things done without them, then that's where their value comes from. And
wow.
they burn themselves out in the process.
Okay. Okay. So is it just the idea of knowing the value? And I asked that because I had a gentleman who a few months ago was saying that truth of the matter is men of less color know their value and willing to ask for a higher salary, even though they may not know how to do the job yet, while the rest of us are trying to prove ourselves. So is it just the idea of value that draws a difference in why we need to to make it an even playing field? We need to pay more attention to it. Is it just value, or is it something else? How we value ourselves?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's a big one. There's a lot of symptoms that women portray. I think the value and the identity is an underlying cause for a lot of those symptoms. But you just mentioned a great example. Women don't tend to apply for jobs if they don't think they can already do the whole job. They are less inclined to stretch. They're also less inclined to negotiate salary, negotiate a raise. Just have some of those skills are not as widespread. And I think it's because we worry about how we are going to be perceived. Or what if we are told no? How do we save face? Uh, men,
Hmm.
the men that I've worked with anyway, this, I don't mean to,
Generalize, yeah,
generalize,
yeah.
but the men that I've worked with have been very good at being able to let those things roll off their back and it's business as usual. And they don't hang on to um, any, anything negative that they might have perceived out of a conversation if they didn't get what they
Gotcha.
wanted.
I got you. Okay. Okay.